Most traditional financial advice is obsessed with returns, beating the market, but the people I've been talking to, they've been telling me a completely different story. So financial peace over financial performance, that's been a huge topic that's been coming up in a lot of different interviews I've been doing. So I've been doing interviews with a bunch of different people this past couple weeks, at least as of filming this. And the number one thing that's been popping up is I prefer peace in my finances over performance. And basically what they're getting at is I would much rather make a less return, get less money if it brings me more peace. And that can be a mixture of different things that I'll break down with you guys. So number one is I want to know where my money is invested. I want to understand the investment or the savings vehicle, whatever it may be, the insurance product I'm in. I want to understand it for myself. So self-education was a huge thing in terms of meeting that goal of peace. Not one person I talked to was fully like hands off, like, you know what, I've got a financial advisor, I've got an insurance professional, I've got a CPA, I'm gonna kick my feet up and they can handle it. All of them wanted to be involved to some degree and understand for themselves what's going on here. And I think it's great if you're someone who's more hands off and you're just like, I trust this person, I know they're gonna be looking out for my best interests, by all means do that. But from the people I've been speaking to, they're all somewhat involved, not like micromanaging or anything like that. It's more of a curiosity of like, I just wanna know what's going on here. I wanna have that sense of control over my finances by having the education first. So education was huge for all of these people. The second thing was, okay, now that I'm educated on how, the products or the investments I'm in work, it's like, well, where's this money actually being invested? The number one thing with this was, I don't want my investments to be in things that don't align with my core values. And that was different for everyone. So maybe, the companies that you're investing in, they're not, when you actually sit down and get clear with what your values are and you look at what these companies are doing in terms of their product or service or where they're donating money, I'm telling you, if you peel back the layers on a lot of these companies, you might second guess having your money there. I'm not saying to sell your investments or move your money from here to there. I'm just saying, like, from the people I talked to, that was a huge concern of like, oh my gosh, like once I actually learned where my money was invested, I needed to seek out help and move it elsewhere to something that's going to align with my values. So again, that's that peace part. It's like, yeah, like I'll give an example. It's like, okay, here's this investment. Again, making it very clear, this is an example. This investment over here is going to give me a 20% return, but this investment over here is going to give me a 10% return. Well, the 20% return investment completely compromises all my morals and my belief system. But hey, I can make more money there versus here's this investment that's going to give me a 10% return, 50% less than the other one, but it's completely aligned with my morals. I can sleep better at night. I show up as a better person in the world knowing that my money's invested somewhere that's aligned with me, that I agree with. It's like, which one would you rather choose? Well, people I've been speaking with, they would go with the 10% all day long. So this whole like myth of like chasing higher returns and trying to beat the market, it's like, I haven't been seeing that for most people. From my personal, the interviews I've been doing, it's like, this is what I've been hearing, I would much rather earn a less return if it's gonna grant me more peace. And then when you break down peace, it's what we've been talking about. So I ask you this question too, like, have you actually sat down and looked at where your money's invested? And if you have you asked yourself and been real with yourself, like, does this actually align with my values? That's a very deep conversation, and it takes some time to really just decide which direction you want to go with that, because it's not easy, especially if you're making money and things have been great, but then, it comes down to a moral thing. It's like, I don't know, you got to have that conversation. But anyway, that was something very powerful from these interviews. And the other thing is like, okay, I've got peace knowing I'm invested in the right things. The other common theme was, I'm afraid what's going to happen when I go into retirement. Meaning, will the market crash when I go into retirement? Like if you retired in 2008, horrible time to retire. It's like no one, maybe a few people, but you know what I'm saying? Like the average person did not know that was going to happen. So if you happen to retire in the year 2008. I mean, it was a horrible time to retire. You could have done everything right. You could have diligently invested and saved for your retirement, built up this nest egg, but then you happen to get the short end of the stick because you retired in 2008. So that was a big fear, is like the market, what if the market crashes when I go into retirement? And then the second thing was running out of money during retirement. Am I gonna have enough money? Did I save up enough to last the rest of my life? So the first thing I want to address is the market crashing during retirement, or at retirement rather. There's very specific, like the year they go into retirement, the market would dump, because there's a ripple effect there. So if you go into retirement and the market's down 20%, let's say, and let's say you had $1 million, market drops 20%, you have 800,000 now, and you're planning to pull income from your market-based investments. That was your whole retirement plan. Well, if you're pulling $40,000 of income off of that, now your 800 is down to 760. You're, by pulling or locking in, I guess, some of those losses during a down market, I mean, that can completely derail your whole retirement plan just from 1 year. And not to mention, since you have a smaller bucket of money now, if you want to look at it like that, you have to earn a way higher return just to get back to where you were originally. So market losses in retirement, especially when they occur, is a huge deal. And you know, like I have another video you can check out talking about this. Like there's person A and person B, they both retire with the same amount of money, but person A, year one of their retirement, the market goes up 10%, and then person B, year one of their retirement, the market goes down 10%, and they're both withdrawing the same amount of money. Person A comes out ahead by thousands and thousands of dollars just because of when the down years occur. That's called the sequence of returns risk. So I have another video on that. But anyway, that was a big fear of the people I've been interviewing. So a way to combat that though is having assets or money that's outside of the market. So if you can have your 401k, your IRAs, your index funds, your brokerage accounts, wherever you have crypto, wherever you have whatever market-based investments you have. But outside of that, it should be a very important focus of yours to say, okay, outside of that, what money do I have coming in that's guaranteed? Most people, it's Social Security, maybe a pension. A couple other things that we can look at is you got your Social Security, pension, annuities are very powerful, and then whole life insurance. I want to touch on the annuity piece first. So again, going back to that concern of, okay, the market dropping and running out of money, that's where an annuity can be very powerful, because with an annuity, it's a contract with an insurance carrier, and they're giving you X guarantees. So for example, you might have, this for easy math, you might have $100,000 and you roll it over, you put the money into an annuity, and the insurance carrier might come back and say, okay, based on this $100,000, we'll give you 10% on that money every single year. We'll give you a payout factor of 10%. So that $100,000 is going to give you a $10,000 guaranteed income stream for the rest of your life. That's the key with annuities too. It's guaranteed income for life. So you have that, right? And then the other side of the coin, you could have, so now you have that, you have your Social Security. We're going to assume you don't have a pension because most people don't have those these days. And then the third thing you could layer in is whole life insurance. Now, this isn't your traditional whole life insurance policy that your parents, your grandparents probably have or had. This is a whole life insurance policy that's specifically designed for maximum cash value. So if you're not familiar with whole life insurance, I'm going to keep it very high level. When you put premium into a whole life insurance policy, a portion of it goes towards the insurance, which is your death benefit, and then the other portion goes towards what's called your cash value. Your cash value is essentially a savings account inside of your insurance policy. It's the easiest way to look at it. Well, that cash value that you build up, you have access to that at any point in time. So you could go into retirement, and let's say you built up $100,000 inside of that cash value, and you are planning to take $50,000 a year of income during your retirement. Well, if your market-based investments, 401k, IRA, whatever your market-based investments are made up of, let's say the market's down 20%. Well, you need $50,000 of income. So what you could do instead is calculate, well, how much money, we're going to assume you have the annuity, calculate how much money you're getting from your Social Security, you're getting from annuities, because those are guaranteed sources of money, and then you can say, okay, maybe you're getting $40,000 out of the 50 from those two sources, and then you need another 10. Well, that's where you could go and look at your whole life insurance cash value and be like, okay, I've got 100 grand in here. I'm going to borrow $10,000 against it. And now your guaranteed income has, assuming the 50,000 too, that's what you need to cover your minimum living expenses, okay? So at 50,000 right there, it's like, okay, cool. Now I have enough money to live normally, and now I can give my market-based investments time to recover. So whole life insurance can be a great volatility buffer so that you don't have to sell when the markets are down. That's one of the worst things you can do during retirement, is selling at a loss. And again, that's the whole premise of, or the whole idea of having guaranteed income sources that can cover your minimum expenses. Because you do not, like, by selling at a loss or locking in losses rather while your portfolio is down, I mean, it's hard to predict and hard to have faith and certainty in your plan if it's like, okay, I'm 1 year into retirement, retired with $1 million, now the market dropped 20%, I have 800,000, and I gotta take income from that, I gotta take 50 grand from that, now I'm down to 750. It's like, what is it gonna look like for the rest of my retirement? So that's where the guarantees are really, really powerful, because if you have that as your bedrock, then you don't even have to worry about the other investments until they come back. Then I would try to look at it as gravy on top, because, and if you can do this, if you can get 100% of your minimum expenses covered by guaranteed income, I mean, you're just gonna be in such a better position in terms of peace and also certainty, like, okay, I'm going to be able to make it through retirement. And your market-based investments, you know, they could perform a lot better. That's the thing with the markets. Like, they might do worse, but they could also do better. So that's where that distinction comes through. But anyway, kind of wrapping up here, the biggest thing that, you know, I've been hearing over and over and over again is like, look, I'm not chasing high returns. I don't want to take this enormous amount of risk. I would much rather be in things that are more conservative, that are aligned with my values, still getting good growth, but not the absolute maximum amount of growth I could possibly get by compromising my values and therefore, you know, causing turmoil in my life and giving me a lack of peace. I'd much rather have peace in my investments and where I'm storing my money for retirement, so that I can do focus on the things that matter in life, family time, going to church, things like that. And also putting more focus, the last thing I'll add here is the other thing was putting more focus on income before retirement. Like, a lot of the people I've been talking to, they're business owners or they're high earning professionals. So they're like, look, I'm not trying to maximize the investment returns as well, because I want to focus more on my career. I would much rather focus on increasing my earned income, my business income, my W-2 income, and then plow more into investments, but those investments are aligned with my values and therefore bringing me more peace to my life. And with all of that plan there, it's like, okay, these people are like, you know, I could have made more money, right? But I would have probably not had the peace, and I probably would have regret in my retirement years. It's like, oh yeah, I have, you know, I have a lot more money than I anticipated going into retirement, but now my peace is destroyed because I'm starting to peel back the layers and really look at where my money's at, and it's just completely off track with my beliefs and what I value. So again, the peace of mind thing is huge. Minimizing regret was a huge thing amongst these people, and kind of what I concluded from it, it's like you have to challenge traditional financial advice and what society's pushing on us as a whole, because what works for you, what you're invested in, what you're okay with could be completely different from me and from the next person. And I think that these blanket financial statements, blanket financial advice can be very, very dangerous for that reason. Because like, yeah, the financial advice you got might work from a math perspective. And that's what's really hard about finance that I've been coming across, is like, and what other people have been expressing to me. It's like, look, it's not about, like, yes, the math, I'm a very logical person myself. Math is very important. It's like, it's got to pencil out, but it's also like, you can't put a price on peace of mind. Like paying off your home, being debt-free, For a lot of people, most people, it's probably the best thing you can do. It might not make mathematical sense all the time, but if it brings you more peace of mind, you're able to show up better in your life, show up better in your career, you can make more money, you show up better to your family, your spouse, your kids, your church, your community. It's like you can't, like, that's the thing you can't really quantify in terms of numbers. It's like, by paying off all my debts, I'm literally the best version of myself I've ever been, and life's great. But from a mathematical standpoint, I gave up, you know, I would have had hundreds of thousands of more, millions of more dollars. But it's like, at some point you gotta ask yourself, at what expense is that even worth it? Is it really worth getting this extra money if it's compromising what really matters to you in life? So that was the biggest thing I've been getting from interviewing all these different people about money. A lot of Catholics as well, primarily Catholics. And it's like, they know what they value and they're not willing to bend at any point to just get a little bit more money. So anyway, I hope you got value from today's video. Maybe this is starting to get the gears turning a little bit. Maybe you're questioning things in your own finances, which I think is a great thing. We should always be questioning and seeking advice and help from others when it comes to this stuff. But I hope you got value. If you want to have a chat about your finances, you can, in the top of the description, you can book a call with me there. You'll find my calendar. And other than that, you'll see a recommended video at the end here. Click that, watch that video, and I'll see you there.